part of the regiment. The Northern Nigerian Regiment became the 1st and 2nd battalions of the Nigerian Regiment, while the Southern Regiment became the 3rd and 4th battalions of the Nigerian Regiment. The Mounted Infantry of the Nigerian Regiment became the Ordinary Infantry Battalion after the Second World War. A field artillery also existed in the Northern Regiment. With the visit of Queen Elizabeth of Britain between 28 January and 15 February 1956, the Nigerian Regiment was renamed the Queen's Own Nigerian Regiment. Also, in the same year, the regionalization of the West African Frontier Force came into existence, and each military force became independent of the other. As a result, the Queen's Own Nigerian Regiment became the Nigerian Military Force. By 1st of June 1958, the British Army Council in London relinquished control of the Nigerian Military Force to the Nigerian government. In 1960, when Nigeria became independent, the Nigerian Military Force became known as the Royal Nigerian Army. When Nigeria became a republic, the Royal Nigerian Army changed to the Nigerian Army. In this same year, the Nigerian Army changed its uniform, rank structure, and instruments from those of the Royal West African Frontier Force to new ones, including the green khaki uniform. It is therefore important to note in an auspicious occasion like this that the Nigerian Army has indeed rich historical background. It is also important to note that the 6th of July every year remains a watershed in the history of the Nigerian Army and, of course, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It was on this day in 1967 at Gakem in the present-day Cross River State that the first shot was fired, which commenced the 30-month most unfortunate Nigerian civil war. In order to serve as a constant reminder of the supreme sacrifices and contributions by the Nigerian Army in keeping Nigeria united as one indivisible entity, the Nigerian Army Day celebration started in 1978. Apart from this, the Nigerian Army Day celebration provides a platform to showcase to Nigerians and indeed the international community the capabilities and achievements of the Nigerian Army within the year under review. Of course, the 10 mines-resistant ambush-protected vehicles commissioned some couple of days ago by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukurusu Buratai, on the 6th of July is a demonstration of this fact. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we await the arrival of the special guest of honor to this arena, may I please crave your indulgence to sit back, relax, and watch other activities lined up for this all-important celebration unfold. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Major DJ Danjuma. Earlier, I did inform us that there are 2 guards on parade this morning, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel I. Ogundele. He was born on the 11th of July and was commissioned on the 21st of September 2001. Today, being the 11th of July, coincides with his birthday. He is a member 48 Regular Commission of the Nigerian Defense Academy and majored in chemistry. Lieutenant N. Bitrus is the #1 sub-guard commander. He was born on the 9th of May 1992 and was commissioned on the 16th of September 2017 as a member 44 Short Service Combatant Course. He is a graduate of the University of Abuja and studied theater and literary studies. Lieutenant A.M. Isimai is the number 2 guard, sub-guard commander. He was born on the 20th of June and was also commissioned into the Nigerian Army on the 16th of September 2017. He is a member Short Service Course 44 and is a graduate of the Anambra State University, where he studied political science. The special guest of honor about now is being conducted around the Special Army Super Camp Faskari, and any moment from now, he would join us here on the parade ground to officially kickstart this event. While we await his arrival, may I please once again remind us that this event is carried live on the largest television network in Africa, the Nigerian Television Authority, and the channel's television. It is also live on the Armed Forces Radio, as well as on various social media platforms. Please do well to join us on any of these platforms and engage us in conversations there.
Thank you, Major Iweha. Senior officers, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder, the 2020 Nigerian Army Day celebration formally is started with a press briefing by the Chief of Army Staff on the 1st of July 2020. This was followed by simultaneous unprecedented commissioning of various projects across all Nigerian Army formations and units. On the 4th and 5th of July, there was an elaborate distribution of palliatives in some selected communities across the country.
Hello and welcome to the Special Army Super Camp for Sahel Sanity Exercise in Paskari local government area of Katsina State, northwest Nigeria, from where the Africa's largest television network, the NTA, is bringing to you live this year's Nigerian Army Day celebrations tagged NATCEL 2020. Of course, the choice of the Nigerian Army to celebrate the 2020 Army Day in Paskari local government might not be unconnected to the presidential directive to all security agencies to close ranks, to read 4 states of Katsina, Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kaduna in the northwest, as well as Niger State in the north central geopolitical zone, from resurgence of armed banditry and other forms of criminality. As we are about to go into the details of the celebration, we are to witness the Nigerian Army Honors and Award Ceremony unveiling and launching of compendium of the Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai years 2015 to 2020, which any moment from now, the event, or rather the celebrations, will commence, as already the special guest of honor and Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magaji, has arrived and about now undertaking some activities at this special camp. Talking about the Nigerian Army Day celebration is an annual event typically held on the 6th July in honor of members of the Nigerian Army, especially those that took part in the First World War and World War II, as well as those that lost their lives during the Nigerian Civil War, and current serving members of the Nigerian Army. Though the climax of the week-long activity, Nigerian Army Day celebration, is taking place today, being the 11th of July 2020. However, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukuru Yusuf Buratai, has before now undertaken series of activities to mark the day. Some of these activities include distribution of palliative to the internally displaced persons in their camps across the frontline local government areas in states affected by the activities of armed bandits. Visit to army formation and units. The Chief of Army Staff also launched exercise Sahel Sanity and inducted 10 new locally made combat vehicles into operation to tackle banditry in the northwest. As we await the arrival of the special guest of honor and Minister of Defense, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, to kickstart the climax of the celebration, during which award will be presented and unveiling of the launching of the compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai years 2015 to 2020. I will now hand you over to my co-commentator, Abdul Malik Hassan, who will take us memory lane on the history of the Nigerian Army. Abdul Malik Hassan.
Traces its historical origins to three 19th century military formations. The first dates from the establishment in 1863 by Captain John Glover of a small Hausa militia to defend the British colony of Lagos. The day is used as a platform to reflect on the Nigeria's Army's performance and celebrate its achievements, as well projects the Army as a key instrument of national power, unity, integration, and development. This year's Army Day celebration was relocated from Jos to Faskari local government area in Katsina State following the insecurity challenges bedeviling the state and the Northwest at large. And this is done to reiterate the Nigeria's Army's commitment to rid of insecurity bedeviling the state and Northwest. The Nigerian Army has since its formation engaged in so many wars, some of which to include the Congo crisis, the Nigerian Civil War, First Liberian Civil War, Sierra Leone Civil War, the Nigerian-Cameroon border conflict, the conflict in the Niger Delta, the Northern Mali War, the Gambia, and that of Boko Haram insurgents.
While we await the arrival of the special guest of honor, who at the back now is going around Special Army Super Camp 4, may I invite the band to please give us some light music while we officially get set. Shortly, I understand he will be joining us here.
This is the service of the Television Authority, Africa's largest television network. As the special guest of honor and Minister of Defense, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi is receiving brief. The theme of this year's Army Day celebration is Nigeria's territorial defense and sovereignty. For Nigerian Army sustain training and operations. Still on the history in 1809, Lugard had formed the incipient body of what was to be known in 1890 as the West African Frontier Force in Jeba, northern Nigeria. The new unit expanded by absorbing the northern Nigeria-based element of the Royal Niger Company, RNC, Constabulary. By the end of 1901, it had incorporated all paramilitary units in the other British dependencies into its command. Thus, fully meriting its designation. The establishment of West African Frontier Force, WAFF, led to the merger of all units into regiment in each of the dependencies. The merger in Nigeria produced the Northern Nigerian and Southern Nigerian regiments. The first commanders of the Southern regiments of West African Frontier Force were Lieutenant Carter, 1899 to 1901, and Colonel J. Wilcox, 1900 to 1909, respectively. The two regiments were later used for expeditions during the annexation of Nigeria by Lord Lugard between 1901 and 1903. Following the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914, the unification of the northern and southern regiments came into fruition, and this witnessed birth of the Nigerian regiments. With the visit of Queen Elizabeth of Britain between 28 January and 15 February 1956, the Nigerian Regiment was renamed the Queen-owned Nigerian Regiment, QONR. Also in the same year, the regionalization of the West African frontier force came into existence, and each military force became independent of the other. As a result, the QONR, Queen's Own Nigerian Regiment, became the Nigerian Military Force, NMF. By 1st June 1958, the British Army Council in London relinquished control of NMF to the Nigerian government. In 1960, when Nigeria became independent, the NMF became known as the Royal Nigerian Army, RNA. When Nigeria became a republic, the RNA changed to the Nigerian Army. In the same year, the army changed its uniform, rank structure, and instruments from those of RWAF to new ones, including the green khaki uniform. As we still await the arrival of special guest of honor and Minister of Defense to the venue from the brief, let me hand over to my co-commentator, Abdul Malik Hassan, who will continue to take us through memory lane of the history of the Nigerian Army.
As we await the arrival of the special guest of honor, permit me to highlight some of the major milestones and achievements that the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, has made until his arrival as Chief of Army Staff. The nation depended solely on hardware, military hardware.
It is therefore important to note that 6th of July every year remains a watershed in the history of Nigeria. It was on this day in 1967 at Garikem in the present-day Cross River State that the first shot was fired, which commenced the 30 months most unfortunate Nigeria civil war. In order to serve as a constant reminder of the supreme sacrifices and contributions made by the Nigerian Army to keep Nigeria united as one indivisible entity, that the Nigerian Army Day celebration started in 1978. Apart from this, nutshell provides a platform to showcase to Nigerians and indeed the international community the capabilities and achievements of the Nigerian Army within the year under review. Of course, the 10 mines resistant ambush protected, commissioned by the Chief of Army Staff on the 6th of July, has sufficiently demonstrated this fact.
They have also built the control center for Operation Lafia Dole. There are unprecedented projects that have been commissioned at the Training and Doctrine Command, similar to the Buratai Hall of Fame built at the Warrant Officers Academy. In operations, several operations have been flagged off, which have checkmated the diverse security threats the nation faced at different times. One would specifically recollect Operation Python Dance, which later transmuted to Operation Egweke in the southeast. There is also Operation Crocodile Smile in the south region of the country. We would not also fail to mention there was Operation Hadarin Daji, Harbin Kunama, and several operations which helped to nip the security situations at diverse times in the country, bringing situations under control.
Thank you, Major Ibeya. Senior officers, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that the Chief of Army Staff is one Chief of Army Staff out of several other Chiefs of Army Staff that has indeed made its mark in the sands of time. On logistics and infrastructures, the Chief of Army Staff has touched virtually all the formation and units across the length and breadth of this great country. The Chief of Army Staff laid the foundation for the proposed headquarters to Brigade Office Complex and Swimming Pool precisely on the 9th of January 2016. As I speak, huge resources has been channeled into that project, and of course, the results are there for everybody to see. And also on the 17th of February 2016, the Chief of Army Staff commissioned 10 blocks of 10 flats each at 4 demo battalion, Jaji, Kaduna State. These footprints are there for posterity to judge. This is one Chief of Army Staff that has indeed redefined leadership in the annals of Nigerian Army history.
The Chief of Army Staff equally operationalized the forward operations base at Kafanchan, equally operationalized the forward operations base in Daura. He equally flagged off exercise Harbin Kunama 2 at Falgairu Forest, and thereafter operationalized 6th Division located in Port Harcourt. Other milestone achievements of the Chief of Army Staff include the expansion of the erstwhile Nigerian Army Peacekeeping Center and renaming it to Martin Luther Agway International Leadership and Peacekeeping Center in Jaji, a center of excellence for peacekeeping operations. The Department of Land Warfare, also in Jaji, has witnessed tremendous changes and upgrade courtesy of the Chief of Army Staff, even as he flagged off Operation Python Dance and Operation Crocodile Smile, which checkmated the situation at the Takwa Bay Islands of Lagos.
Thank you. In order to address the accommodation challenge faced by officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army, the Chief of Army Staff acquired officers and soldiers' quarters at Kuba and Dusi Al-Haji, respectively, in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. He also commissioned the Army Headquarters RSM's office new soldiers accommodation at Yeradua Barracks in the Federal Capital Territory, and of course, to enhance operational proficiency, he commissioned gunboats hangar at 13 Amphibious Brigade in Calabar, Cross River States. These are amongst numerous other achievements recorded under his able leadership.
The Chief of Army Staff would also go down in history as having launched the first motorcycle battalion in the Nigerian Army. This motorcycle battalion has helped in checkmating the activities of the Boko Haram terrorists and also the militia headsmen that are known to operate on motorcycles. This Chief of Army Staff would recollect personally conducted the operation that led to the recapture and hoisting of the Nigerian flag back in Gambaru. Until his tenure as Chief of Army Staff, there were hitherto some areas that the Boko Haram still held and could lay claim to. These have all passed away as the Chief of Army Staff successfully ensured that there was no territory, no space is left in the hands of terrorists as he reinvigorated the operations in the northeast and have continued to ensure that the terrorists are at all times on their heels as no stone is left unturned to ensure that terrorists are captured and may I crave the indulgence of the banks to get set. I understand the special guest of honor is here with us. May I also at this juncture respectfully request senior officers and distinguished invited guests to please rise as we receive the special guest of honor.
mutuwa tun yaushe amma ya manta har ya manta ya
Thank you very much, sir. The fanfare heralded the arrival of the special guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salehi Magashi, retired, COA, CFR. Sir, you're most welcome, sir. The special guest of honor, sir, Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salehi Magashi, retired, CON CFR, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Gabriel Oloni Shakin, here ably represented by Air Vice Marshal C.I. Ogoen, the Chief Host, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Boatai, Nigerian Army Medal, Order of Military Merit Brazil, Grand Service Star, amongst other numerous honors and awards, Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, here ably represented by Rear Admiral T.T. Dapat, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, ably represented by Air Vice Marshal I.O. Amao, the Chief of Policy and Plans Army, Lieutenant General L.O. Adeoshu, Principal Staff Officers from Army and other service headquarters here present, General Officers commanding Nigerian Army divisions here present, Air Officers commanding Special Operations and Training Command, Corps commanders here present, commanders of various operations, commanders of various army formations here present, directors from Defense and Services Headquarters, commandants of Nigerian Army schools, senior military officers both serving and retired, our Royal Father, Sir King Yamman Katsina, Hakimin Foskari, Engineer Aminu Tukur Usman Saidu, gallant soldiers of the Nigerian Army, gentlemen of the press, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, I warmly welcome you to Special Army Super Camp 4, Faskari, Katsina State, on the occasion of the grand finale of the Nigerian Army Day celebration, today, the 11th of July, 2020. I am Major I.O. Iweha, and with me is Major DJ Danjuma of the Directorate of Army Public Relations. Together, we shall be taking you through the series of events that have been lined up here this morning. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Nigerian Army Day celebration, as you are aware, is a significant event in the Nigerian Army history, which climaxes on the 6th of July every year with a grand finale. This year's Nigerian Army Day celebration is deliberately arranged to include Nigerian Army Honors and Awards ceremony, as well as the unveiling and presentation of the Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai years 2015 to 2020. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Nigerian Army, over the past 1 year, has consolidated on the gains of the next level agenda of Mr. President by defending, protecting, and strengthening democratic institutions and enhancing security of Nigeria. Many activities have been conducted during this year's Nigerian Army Day celebration 2020. On the 1st of July, the Chief of Army Staff held his press briefing, while on the 3rd of July 2020, there was simultaneous unprecedented commissioning of various projects across all Nigerian Army formations and units. Similarly, on the 4th and 5th of July, there was elaborate distribution of palliatives in selected communities across the country to cushion the effects of the economic hardship caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, on the 6th of July 2020, the Chief of Army Staff flagged off exercise Sahel Sanity and commissioned 10 Nigerian Army locally manufactured mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles which are adjacent the parade ground and inducted them into operations. On the same day, the Chief of Army Staff had a media engagement with selected editors. Today, we are climaxing the Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020 with the Nigerian Army Honors and Awards Ceremony, as well as the unveiling and presentation of the Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Burata years 2015 to 2020. These historic and legendary achievements of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General T.Y. Burata, are chronicled in this compendium. At this juncture, without much waste of time, I have the honor to invite the Chairman, Central Organizing Committee, Nigerian Army Day Celebration NATCEL 2020, and General Officer Commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army, Major General NTA Bazo, to please deliver the welcome address. The Chairman, sir.
The special guest of honor and Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Sani Magashi, retired, Commander of the Order of Niger, Commander of the Federal Republic, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Gabriel Oladishakin, ably represented by Air Vice Marshal C.R. Ogunwen, Amiable Chief Host and Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, Nigerian Army Medal, Order of Merit, Military Merit Brazil, General Service Star amongst numerous honors and awards, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Abbas, ably represented by Rear Admiral Titi Dakwat, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, ably represented by Air Vice Marshal I.O. Amao, the Chief of Policy and Plans Army, Lieutenant General L.O. Adeusun, Principal Staff Officers from the Army and Services Headquarters, Corps Commanders here present, General Officers Commanding Nigerian Army Divisions here present, Air Officers Commanding Special Operation and Training Command, Commanders of various operations, Commanders of various Army formations here present, Directors from Defense and Services Headquarters here present, Commandants of Nigerian Army Schools, Senior military officers both serving and retired, our Royal Father, Sir King Katsina and Hakimin Faskari, Engineer Aminu Tukur Usman Saidu, gallant soldiers of the Nigerian Army, gentlemen of the press, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my single honor and responsibility to welcome our esteemed special guest of honor, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired, the Honorable Minister of Defense, and other distinguished special guests, officers and soldiers, on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, to this unique and special occasion. The two events that will soon commence are part of the series of activities lined up to mark the celebration of the Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020 in commemoration of the 157th anniversary of the establishment of the Nigerian Army. Special guest of honor, sir, for the Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020, the Chief of Army Staff approved the theme of this year's celebration as, I quote, Nigeria's territorial defense and sovereignty, imperatives for Nigerian Army's sustained training and operations, unquote. And he directed that it be uniquely organized this time around in the form of a real-time field training exercise. This is in part in compliance to the presidential directive of putting to an end and ridding all parts of Nigeria of the menace of banditry, insurgency, and all sundry criminal activities in conjunction with other security agencies. The field training exercise, codenamed Exercise Sahel Sanity, as you are informed, was flagged off on the 6th of July 2020. Special guest of honor, sir, for your kind information, a rundown of activities carried out during the Nigerian Army Day Celebration Week included the Chief of Army Staff's press briefing, commissioning of 66 quick impact civil military operation projects in various locations across the country, the distribution of palliatives to the needy in selected communities nationwide, the commissioning of the Conqueror mine-resistant anti-ambush protected vehicle, the airing of the Nigerian Army documentary on training and operations, and the airing of Operation Last Stand, a Nigerian Army-sponsored film. It might interest you to note, sir, that the Conqueror Emerald was commissioned just a few days ago, and it was built in the theater. These vehicles drove themselves down from Maiduguri, and as we speak now, all of them have been deployed for the exercise Sahel Sanity. Today, sir, the Nigerian Army is honored to have your presence as a special guest of honor in the next events, starting with the Chief of Army Staff's honor and awards ceremony. This event provides the Nigerian Army with yet another opportunity to celebrate and honor deserving personnel in recognition of their selfless and exceptional contributions to the successes recorded by the Nigerian Army in the last 12 months. Following the award ceremony, we are also honored to have you unveil and launch the book titled, I quote, Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai Years, 2015-2020, unquote, which highlights some of the modest achievements recorded by the Nigerian Army in the last 5 years under the able and visionary leadership of our amiable Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai. Special guest of honor, sir, our distinguished invited guests, officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army, and other sister services present, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to once again, on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff, welcome you most sincerely to Special Army Super Camp 4, Faskari. Kindly enjoy the event as it unfolds. Thank you, sir, for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we please appreciate him with another round of applause? May I, at this juncture, most respectfully request the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, to please deliver his address. The Chief of Army Staff, sir.
Our special guest of honor, Honorable Minister of Defense, Major Bashir Sali Magashi, retired CFR, Chief of Defense Staff, here ably represented by BMC Gomwe, the Chief of Naval Staff, represented by General Dakwat, the Chief of Air Staff, represented by Air Vice Marshal Amao, Chief of Police and Plans, Lieutenant General Adeoshun, Principal Staff Officers, Young Officers Commanding, and Air Officers Commanding, they are present. Co-commanders, commanders of various operations, commanders of formations, they are present. Directors of the Defense and Services Headquarters, Commandants of Nigerian Army Schools, senior military officers, both have been retired. Our Royal Father Sakiyaman Katsina Hakim Faskari, Engineer Minutukur Osman, Saidu, the gallant soldiers of the Nigerian Army, gentlemen of the press, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my honor and pleasure to welcome our special guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General B.S. Magashi, retired, to the Nigerian Army Day celebration, honors and awards ceremony for the year, and also the official public presentation of the book titled Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai years 2015-2020. These two events are part of the activities put together to mark the 157th anniversary of Nigerian Army at the Nigerian Army Day celebration this year. This occasion also coincides with the period leading to another milestone, 5 years as the 29th Chief of Army Staff, having been appointed on the 13th of July 2015. It is therefore a very unique and indeed memorable event. The last decade witnessed unprecedented developments in the global security environment, with the escalation of threats to national security of many countries around the world, including our dear country, Nigeria. You will recall the difficult security challenges that our nation faced in the years leading up to 2015. The Boko Haram insurgency was at its peak, with several parts of northeastern Nigeria under their control. Cases of kidnapping, banditry, communal clashes, farmers-herders conflict, and other criminalities were also endemic at the time. The nation's capital was subjected to frequent bombing attacks, while major cities like Kano, Kaduna, Jos, and Maiduguri were also not spared from these various attacks. The Nigerian Army has been at the forefront of combating these threats to our national security. However, at that time, the Nigerian Army struggled with low morale, largely due to operational setbacks, poor equipment, inadequate manpower, poor administration and welfare, as well as weak capacity, amongst others. It was against this grim backdrop that I assumed office as the Chief of Army Staff in 2015. My immediate priorities centered on how to modernize the Nigerian Army through developing a right force structure and posture, addressing manpower and equipment needs, improving training, operations, logistics, and other aspects of our warfighting capabilities. Better welfare for our troops and their families through infrastructural development also needed attention. We had to immediately take steps to address these fundamental areas. Today, I am glad to note that the measures we took 5 years ago have contributed immensely to enhancing the efficiency of Nigerian Army, resulting in improved security as witnessed in the Northeast and across the country. Some of the achievements we were able to record in the aforementioned areas are what have been documented in this compendium being presented to the public today. The book Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Burataye's 2015-2020, is not a self-assessment, but an attempt to provide a fair record for reflection on our modest but collective efforts in transforming the Nigerian Army to a more efficient fighting force. This compendium provides detailed information on some of the key projects and programs that were the focus of our transformation efforts. It is hoped that the legacy of the publication as a reference material will encourage future leadership in the Nigerian Army and indeed all cadres of personnel to sustain the tempo and build on it. These modest transformational achievements would not have been possible without the leadership, support, and guidance of President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Mr. President's unflinching support and encouragement was a strong motivation for us to preserve in our mind to a better Nigerian Army, despite the challenges we encountered. Let me once again, on behalf of the officers, soldiers, and civilian staff of the Nigerian Army, express our gratitude and unalloyed loyalty to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as our Constitution. Our appreciation also goes to the Vice President, His Excellency Professor Yemi Oshibanjo, members of the National Assembly, the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, who is our special guest of honor today, the Chief of Defense Staff, my fellow service chiefs, and all those who contributed in different ways to the success story of the Nigerian Army. I wish to pay tribute to all officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army, particularly our heroes, who have paid the supreme price in line of duty to our nation. We are indebted to them forever and pledge our commitment to the welfare of their families and loved ones they left behind. The Department of Policy and Plans, led by Lieutenant General Elo Adeshu, has compiled this work tediously over time, and I want to also especially congratulate and thank the department for the foresight in bringing about this publication. The transformation of the Nigerian Army is a work in progress. We must therefore not rest on our oars, but continue to work tirelessly with the sister services and other security agencies towards sustaining and indeed improving efforts so far to keep up ready at all times for all missions. Let me commend the editors for the good job done in putting together this compendium. The quality of the print and the richness of the book's content have marked this publication out as a work of great value. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, today's honors and award ceremony occupy a special pride of place in the life of an institution such as the Nigerian Army. It is an occasion where personnel who have distinguished themselves in their field of endeavor are singled out for recognition. These individuals being recognized today have one way or the other demonstrated in an uncommon way sacrifice, bravery, doggedness, commitment, and ingenuity, among others, in their service to the Nigerian Army and to our nation. Undoubtedly, this year's award ceremony is indeed a very unique one in view of the emerging security environment in the country. However, it is no doubt an uphill task to perform exceptionally under the prevailing conditions. To this end, I wish to assure you all that the Nigerian Army will continue to recognize the sacrifices of such individuals. I wish to congratulate the recipients of the year 2020 honors and awards. You were singled out for recognition through a very rigorous and transparent process. It is therefore my hope that you will justify this rare recognition by sustaining the hard work. For those who did not win any award today, I wish to acknowledge the efforts you have all put in towards the development and upliftment of the Nigerian Army. Since it is a known fact that not everybody can be chosen, I implore you to work harder so that next year, too, you will be celebrated. The Honorable Minister of Defense, sir, who is our special guest of honor, distinguished invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. On this note, it is my singular honor and privilege to invite the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major Salihi Magashi, retired, to present the awards to the recipients and equally unveil the book Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Brota years 2015 to 2020. To you and of course to the general public. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, sir. That was the remarks by the Chief of Army Staff. To present this award, I have the singular honor and privilege to please invite the Deputy Director of Personnel Services, Department of Administration, Army, Brigadier General C.R. Navy Fair, to please take charge of this proceeding. Brigadier General Navy Fair, sir.
The special guest of honor, sir, the Honorable Minister of Defense, the representative of the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, sir, representative of the Service Chiefs, Chief of Policy and Plans, Army, senior officers, awardees, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am Brigadier General C.R. Nebife, the Deputy Director of Personnel Services at the Army Headquarters Department of Administration. I shall be the anchor for the 2020 Honors and Award Ceremony. In continuation with the events to mark the Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020, I have the singular honor and privilege to proceed with the 2020 Honors and Award Ceremony. The Honors and Award Ceremony is an occasion for the Chief of Army Staff to recognize hard work, excellence, and exceptional service, as well as accomplishments by deserving officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army. The Chief of Army Staff will be conferring awards on 7 deserving officers and 9 soldiers who have excelled in their career and services to the nation. The Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award recipients are officers and soldiers who have displayed exemplary character, commendable acts of courage, bravery, and gallantry in the face of the enemy. Additionally, some of the recipients have excelled in ingenuity and have made significant contributions to the development of the Nigerian Army and the nation at large. The special guest of honor, sir, distinguished invited guests, it is with this sense of humility that I present the 2020 Chief of Army Staff Commendation Awardees to be honored today. The awardees.
These are the awardees marching toward the center of the arena where they will receive their awards from the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired.
Major General E.O. Udo, Major General Enobong Okoro Udo is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for operational excellence, innovation, and contributions to the overall development of the Nigerian Army. As the Chief of Training and Operations Army, he ensured the successful implementation of Nigerian Army Super Camps concept and the operationalization of 22 super camps and 4 special super camps. He evolved measures for effective first generation and timely rotation of troops across Nigerian Army theaters of operation. He effectively handled exercise Atilobu 1, exercise Ayam Akatuma 2, and exercise Crocodile Smile 4, which resulted in tremendous successes in tackling kidnapping, vandalization of pipelines, oil bunkering, armed robbery, and other forms of criminalities in the nation. He is currently directing the activities of exercise Sahel Sanity. On the whole, Major General Enobong Okoro proved himself as an excellent leader, worthy of emulation and commendation. The special guest of honor, sir, I present Major General E.O. Udo for decoration. The next awardee is Brigadier General B.I. Alaya. Brigadier General Babatunde Ibrahim Alaya is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for his innovation, design, and fabrications to support the operations in the Northeast. As the Commander, 107 Division Equipment Support of Operation Lafayette Dole, he led his team to carry out numerous repairs. He also designed and fabricated devices, equipment, and platforms which serve as force multipliers in the fight against Boko Haram terrorists. His team brought to life the concept of counter-improvised explosive device by designing and fabricating rollers, as well as the dual AK-47 firing devices currently being used. Some of the platforms in use for the current exercise Sahel Sanity were fabricated and built by Brigadier General B.I. Alaya. His actions are indeed worthy of commendation. I present Brigadier General Alaya for decoration. The next recipient of the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award is Colonel D. Deke. Colonel Damian Deke is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for his effective supervision, proactiveness, and initiative in repositioning the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigerian Research and Development Center. As the acting director of the Research and Development Center, Colonel Deke spearheaded the successful completion of the establishment of the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Office, which was commissioned sometime in 2019. Colonel Deke successfully resuscitated and completed researches leading to the production of the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria made double-base propellant. With this, DICOM will soon start producing its own high-quality propellant, which is a gunpowder for production of ammunition. His achievements are worthy of commendation. I present Colonel Deke for the Coas Commendation Award. The next recipient is Lieutenant Colonel E.O. Ikang. Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Okun Ikang is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for acts of gallantry, operational effectiveness, and efficiency. As the commanding officer 153 Task Force Battalion, he cleared route Marte Dikwa to link up with 22 Brigade, thereby opening up an alternative men's supply route that ensured the continuous resupply of troops. His several decisive operations led to the killing of several insurgents and the recovery of weapons. He also rescued over 3,000 civilians taken hostage by the terrorists. His professional competence at that level is worthy of commendation. I present Lieutenant Colonel E.O. Ikang for the decoration. The next awardee is Lieutenant Colonel I.A. Mohammed. Lieutenant Colonel Ibrahim Al-Hassan Mohammed is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for act of gallantry, operational effectiveness, and efficiency. As the commanding officer 233 Tank Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed led his unit to several victories against the Islamic states of West African province and the Boko Haram terrorists. He also led the unit to defeat terrorist attack on Damatru, killing several Islamic state of West African province fighters, including their commander, Abu Mokhtar. His unit also rescued so many hostages from the Boko Haram terrorists. His professional competence at that level is also worthy of commendation. I present Lieutenant Colonel I.A. Mohammed for decoration. Our next awardee is Lieutenant Colonel Y. Salisu. Lieutenant Colonel Yusuf Salisu is conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for his leadership and developmental achievements. As the commanding officer 103 Battalion Enugu, he addressed the perennial water scarcity that has always been a challenge in the barracks. He also constructed a 250,000 liters per day capacity water reservoir that sources its water from Akuke Street behind the barracks. Lieutenant Colonel Yusuf equally rehabilitated the existing 600 meters dilapidated access road networks in the barracks through collaboration with private construction companies. The projects were all executed at no cost to the Nigerian Army, except for the water filtration unit, which was provided by the Chief of Army Staff. His actions are indeed worthy of commendation. I present Lieutenant Colonel Y. Salisu for decoration. May I crave your indulgence to invite our last but not the least awardee in the officers category. He is Captain A.T. Ibrahim. Captain Ado Tofa Ibrahim is conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for research, development, and manufacture of prototype Nigerian Army combat vehicle under the Military Skills Acquisition Training. As the Model Transport Officer and the liaison officer between Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria and its collaborative companies, he successfully researched, developed, and produced the Ezugu vehicle, which is the Nigerian premier indigenous mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicle. Captain Ibrahim also coordinated the research, development, and production of variants of medium and light technical patrol vehicles. His rare pedigree and sterling qualities are worthy of commendation. I present Captain Ibrahim for decoration. The Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award is not restricted to officers alone. We have amongst us soldiers that have also distinguished themselves in their various places of duties in the Nigerian Army. The first among the soldiers is 93 NA/351576, Warrant Officer Ogumbi Dele. Warrant Officer Ogumbi Dele is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for excellent use of initiative, skills, and proactiveness. As the personal assistant to the Chief of Defense Staff, Warrant Officer Dele has been remarkable in ensuring security and proper handling of documents. He also brought to bear institutional memories of the workings of the office for the smooth functioning of all clerical duties. He is an exemplary warrant officer and a model to his subordinates. His actions are worthy of commendation. The next awardee is 93 NA/35/2237, Warrant Officer Musa Isa. Warrant Officer Musa Isa is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for acts of gallantry and ingenuity in weapons and equipment maintenance. Warrant Officer Musa is a specialist in artillery guns equipment maintenance. On many occasions, he was drafted into very urgent circumstances to the general areas of Damasak, Bama, Konduga, Baga, and Mongunu, amongst other places, to carry out repairs, even in the face of enemy action. This task contributed to the successes recorded by the formations and units in the Northeast Theater of Operation. He is a source of motivation and encouragement to his team. I present Warrant Officer Musa Isa for decoration. Our next awardee is 93 NA/35/2109, Warrant Officer Lawan Muazu. Warrant Officer Lawan Muazu is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for professional competence. Warrant Officer Muazu displayed high sense of responsibility and diligence in the performance of duties. Lawan ensured that all itinerary pertaining to the organization and execution of the Chief of Army Staff annual and quarterly conferences were effectively and efficiently handled. He pioneered the initiative on the creation of a special database that holds all the Nigerian Army establishment orders from 2015 to date. His accurate and in-depth knowledge of Nigerian Army arms and ammunition stocks ensure that work in the cell is seamless. He is worthy of the commendation for today. I present Warrant Officer Lawan Muazu for decoration. The next recipient of the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award is 93 NA/36/1528, Warrant Officer Daniel Makama. Warrant Officer Daniel Makama is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for his clerical and professional competence. As an instructor in the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, he coordinated and supervised all training activities in the Staff Duties Wing for the training of clerks and confidential secretaries. As the Assistant Chief Clerk at the Army Headquarters, he delivered lectures to unit adjutants and chief clerks of 6th Division and other divisions during a division's training. His clerical and professional competence made him to be nominated to represent the Nigerian Army as an instructor in the newly established Nigerian Customs Services Command and Staff College. His academic competence is worthy of commendation. I present Warrant Officer Daniel Makama for the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award. The next is 96 NA/42/7129, Staff Sergeant Rabi Aliu. Staff Sergeant Rabi Aliu is conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for his acts of gallantry and operational competence. Staff Sergeant Rabi Aliu participated actively in all the offensive operations conducted by his unit as a gunner in the Northeast. Staff Sergeant Aliu has had his gun truck attacked by improvised explosive device on 3 different occasions, yet he remained undeterred and ever determined in the discharge of his duties. During one of the numerous ambushes and improvised explosive device attacks, he provided the needed cover despite enemy firepower to extricate his commanding officer, and the ambush was successfully neutralized. I present to you Staff Sergeant Rabi Aliu for his act of gallantry, and he is worthy of this commendation. Our next recipient is 2000 NA/49/2117, Staff Sergeant Suleiman Yunusa. Staff Sergeant Suleiman Yunusa is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for outstanding act of gallantry. As a platoon sergeant, Staff Sergeant Yunusa participated actively in all the unit's offensive operation and has remained fearless and willing to partake in every operations of the unit. On a particular mission, Staff Sergeant Suleiman led a patrol team to an isolated Boko Haram terrorist stronghold in Kwadala village. His team routed the terrorists in their hideouts, and he exploited the situation further and recovered so many arms and ammunition. His acts of bravery are worthy of commendation. I present Staff Sergeant Suleiman Yunusa for the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award. Next is 2005 NA/56/1126 Sergeant Agada Okafor. Sergeant Agada Okafor is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for his technical and operational competence. Sergeant Agada Okafor is a specialist in the repairs and maintenance of armored and heavy-duty vehicles. The soldier repaired 4 PMP, a Russian truck vehicle that were earlier classified as beyond economic repairs by some European expatriates that were contracted. He is the rallying point for all armored vehicle maintenance in the Northeast. He specifically specializes in the repairs of PMPs and the Camel mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles. His technical competence is worthy of commendation. I present Sergeant Agada Okafor for the award. The next awardee is 12 NA/67/2709, Lance Corporal Wunti Koni. Lance Corporal Wunti Koni is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for her innovation and selfless service. Lance Corporal Wunti is the first soldier to produce jersey pullover for the Nigerian Army. Samples of the jersey pullovers produced by the soldier were forwarded to the headquarters Nigerian Army Ordnance Corps for inputs, and they were approved. She has developed keen interest in working with the machines that within a short period, she mastered operating the machine as well as the replacement of some parts. She has also trained other tailors in the sewing of jersey pullovers. Her actions are indeed worthy of commendation. I present Lance Corporal Wunti Koni for the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award. The last recipient for today is 16 NA/75/5564, Private Isa Umar. Private Isa Umar is being conferred with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Award for acts of gallantry. Private Isa Umar single-handedly rescued 27 pupils of Vital Years Academy Zaria, whose school bus caught fire with the pupils inside. The vehicle exploded. Immediately, the last child was rescued from the bus. The explosion resulted to the soldier sustaining multiple burns. He is fast recovering from the injuries. I present to you Private Isa Umar for this gallantry action, and is indeed worthy of commendation. A special guest of honor, sir, the Chief of Army Staff, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I at this junction most respectfully request the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukuri Subratai, to please invite the special guest of honor to decorate the awardees. The Chief of Army Staff, sir. The Chief of Administration Army will join him, sir.
While the investiture is ongoing, I request the band to please give us some light music as we also fill you in on some of the achievements of the Chief of Army Staff.
Hello.
That is the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired, decorating recipient of Chief of Army Staff Award. He is being accompanied by the Chief of Army Staff himself, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai. Of course, the recipients have distinguished themselves in their areas of specializations in the army. And today we are witnessing the reward for that commitment and service to their fatherland.
Thank you.
The decoration is still on with the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired. It's still the climax of the Nigerian Army Day celebration, NATSAL 2020.
Thank you very much, man. Chief of Army Staff has indeed kept a date with history with the various transformational projects he has brought to bear in the Nigerian Army in the course of his tour of duty as the Chief of Army Staff. He had, as Chief of Army Staff, commissioned the Command Secondary School in Jega, and also commissioned the Command Girls Secondary School, also in Jega. There was the renovation of officers' transit accommodation at the 9th Brigade Ikeja Cantonment, and the commissioning of vehicles at the Nigerian Army Vehicle Manufacturing Company, also in Kaduna in January 2019. The Chief of Army Staff equally commissioned the Army War College Sports Facilities, on the 4th of April, and performed the groundbreaking of the proposed Maxwell Kobe Cantonment Main Gate at the 3 Division in Jos. Commissioned the 3 Artillery Brigade Wars and Sergeant Mess at Shadawanka Barracks in Bauchi, and equally commissioned the soldiers' accommodation at Shadawanka Barracks, also in Bauchi. In April 2019, commissioning of the Gasland project by Nigerian Army Welfare Limited by Guarantee was also commissioned. There are several commissionings and renovations that have been undertaken by the Chief of Army Staff at various formations and barracks, which are too numerous to be mentioned here, but have been carefully chronicled in the compendium which will be unveiled very shortly.
special guest of honor, sir, senior officers, distinguished invited guests, and our viewers all over the world, ladies and gentlemen. In a short while, the awards ceremony will be transiting to the unveiling and, of course, a presentation of the compendium of the Nigerian Army transformation. The Burate this will be done by the special guest of honor.
Thank you very much, sir.
The decoration by the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired. In a short while, we shall be witnessing
Special guest of honor, sir. The Chief of Army,
the
sir.
introduction and presentation of Compendium of the Nigerian Army Transformation,
Ladies and gentlemen,
the Burate
with
years
the decoration over,
2015
we have come
to
the end of the
2020.
honors and awards ceremony. I invite Major
And of course,
Danjuma to continue with the proceedings.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, sir.
as
This is
it has been said, the Nigerian Army has been up and doing in the protection of the nation's territory and doing very well with other sister organizations in protecting lives and property across the country.
Army staff, evolving to the tenure of the incumbent Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukul Yusuf Buratai, who has no doubt kept a date with history through his unprecedented transformation of the Nigerian Army into a force better able to meet contemporary challenges. This afternoon, his tremendous achievements have been chronicled and will be presented to us in form of a compendium. To do this, I have the singular honor and privilege to most respectfully request the Chairman, Compendium Production Committee, the Deputy Chief of Policy and Plans, Army, Major General S.E. Udonwa, to please take charge of this proceeding. The Chairman, sir.
The special guest of honor, Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Sali Magashi, retired, Commander of the Federal Republic. The Chief of Defense Staff, ably represented. Our Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukul Yusuf Buratai, representatives of the Chief of the Naval Staff, and Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Policy and Plans, Army, Principal Staff Officers at Defense and Services Headquarters, Corps Commanders, General Officers Commanding, Senior Officers, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am Major General S.E. Udonwa, the Deputy Chief of Policy and Plans, Army, Director, Staff Duties, and the Chairman of the committee to produce the Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation 2015 to 2020. It is with great delight that I, on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff, welcome the special guest of honor and other distinguished guests to the public presentation of the book, Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai years 2015-2020. Over the last 3 months, I was privileged to lead a team of 10 very dedicated Nigerian Army officers who are the editors of the compendium that is being presented to the public this afternoon. May I respectfully crave the indulgence of the special guest of honor to request members of the committee who are present with us to please step out for recognition. On behalf of the editors, I thank the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Yusuf Buratai, for the privilege given to us to undertake this very important assignment. It is widely acknowledged that the Nigerian Army in the last 5 years, under the leadership of our indefatigable Chief of Army Staff, has witnessed unprecedented transformation more than at any time in its history. This is evident in the numerous recognitions and awards bestowed on the Army and the Chief of Army Staff, both domestically and globally. It is these achievements that inspired this compendium with the aim of documenting for posterity and to serve as reference to the next generation of leaders in the Nigerian Army. The compendium is thematically arranged into 10 parts with 24 chapters for easy read and better comprehension. Where necessary, pictures were included to drive home the point as well as make its reading enjoyable. Part 1 presents an overview of the Nigerian Army, highlighting its rich history, organization, and operational as well as administrative structures to aid readers to understand subsequent parts of the book. Parts 2 to 9 focused on particular areas of transformation, including reorganization, changes to order of battle, achievements in educational development, innovations in training, exercises and operations, and efforts to improve provision of material and sustainment of the Army. Other aspects covered include leadership development and capacity building, administration, infrastructural development, and doctrinal as well as policy reviews. The last part of the book, part 10, is on the personality of the Chief of Army Staff and titled The Man Tuku Buratai. A short brief on the Chief of Army Staff and some of his speeches and those made by eminent persons during Nigerian Army events were captured in this part. This compendium is an attempt to tell the story of the many transformational initiatives that were embarked upon by the Nigerian Army under the leadership of the Chief of Army Staff in the last 5 years. The work is just a microcosm of the numerous achievements of the Chief of Army Staff, as we were unable to capture every aspect of the transformation in the Nigerian Army due to time and space limitations. It is hoped that subsequent editions will be more comprehensive than this first attempt. While the Army is still evolving towards attaining its ideal state, a major foundation has been laid for its future leaders to build upon. Without doubt, the Nigerian Army, through the transformational processes of the last half-decade, is today better positioned to perform its constitutional roles as a leading service of the armed forces of Nigeria. We hope that the reader will have a better understanding of the Nigerian Army and the efforts made by its leadership in the last 5 years to keep it at optimal performance levels for present and future missions. Special guests of honor, sir, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me once again, on behalf of all the editors, express our gratitude to the Chief of Army Staff for his approval to undertake this compilation. His guidance and support were vital to the successful completion of the work within a relatively short time. We are also grateful to the Chief of Policy and Plans, Army, Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, who was always available to offer advice that further enriched the book. Our appreciation also goes to other Army headquarters, principal staff officers, commanders at all levels, and heads of establishments and institutions who made written and oral submissions that simplified the editorial work. We thank aides, staff, assistants, and our printers, Yalian Press, who toiled under difficult circumstances to ensure deadlines were met and the project was a reality. Finally, to every personnel of the Nigerian Army, whose heroic exploits have saved our nation uncountable times, and without whom there will be no Nigerian Army, we say thank you for your sacrifice. As I end these introductory remarks, may I respectfully inform this gathering that the foreword to the compendium was written by no other personality than the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic. Mr. President's message to readers of the compendium is very insightful and inspiring and worthy to be read to this audience. May I therefore humbly invite the Chief of Policy and Plans Army, Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, to please come forward and read the Commander-in-Chief's foreword to the compendium, and thereafter invite the special guest of honor to unveil the book. The Chief of Policy and Plans Army, sir. The special guest of honor, sir, the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Sali Magashi, retired, Commander of the Federal Republic. The Chief of Defense Staff, ably represented by Air Vice Marshal C.I. Ogowen, Chief of the Naval Staff, ably represented by Rear Admiral Titi Dakwat, and the Chief of the Air Staff, represented ably by Air Vice Marshal I.O. Amao. Our great host, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Yusuf Buratai, Principal Staff Officers from the Army and other services headquarters, General Officers Commanding and Air Officers Commanding Air Present, Corps Commanders Air Present, Commanders of various operations Air Present, Commanders of various Army formations Air Present, Directors from Defense and Services Headquarters, Commandants of Nigerian Army Schools, Senior Military Officers, both serving and retired, our Royal Father, Serikin Yama Katsina, Akimin Faskari, Engineer Aminu Tukur Usman Saidu, the gallant soldiers of the Nigerian Army, gentlemen of the press, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I remain Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, the Chief of Policy and Plans,
Army. I stand before you this afternoon to read the foreword to the Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai years 2015 to 2020, by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Let me remark that all the possessive pronouns in this speech refers to the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and not the reader. I begin. When I first assumed office as President on 29 May 2015, our dear nation, like many others, was plagued by multifaceted security challenges that threatened the very foundation of our existence as a country. No place was considered safe, even as the sanctity of the nation's capital was breached severally by sporadic bombing incidents by terrorists and other forms of criminalities. I had no doubt about the task that lay ahead for our administration. Therefore, one of the cardinal agenda of our administration was and still remains the guarantee of safety and security of lives and property of Nigerians, other nationalities resident in our country, and our citizens around the world. This is a constitutional imperative, and we are determined to uphold this ideal in line with the tenets of our oath of office. To achieve this objective, the armed forces, being a key element of our national power, must remain prepared, ready, and able to combat contemporary security challenges, protect the territorial integrity of our dear nation, and jealously guard our shared values and national interests under the political direction of our government. I am proud to say that a year into my administration's second term, the armed forces have not only distinguished themselves in the performance of its constitutional roles, but have also enjoyed the support of our people, as well as carved a niche for themselves as one of the best in the world. May I note that the Nigerian Army, a key service of our armed forces, has particularly demonstrated a remarkable sense of patriotism, professionalism, and competence that have endeared it to Nigerians and our friends around the world. The Army is indeed the pride of the nation. Having risen from the embers of colonial history and the shadows of prolonged military rule to build enduring support to our democracy, defend our country, and provide security for our people. There is no doubt that as of today, our country is better secured than at the beginning of our administration. The insurgency in the northeastern part of the country, which was almost an existential threat a few years ago, is all but ended. Similarly, the restiveness in the Niger Delta area has been effectively brought under control, while cases of farmers-herdsmen clashes are in decline. These milestones in the area of security have been largely due to the transformational initiatives of the Nigerian Army under the current able leadership. We still have challenges of banditry, kidnappings, intermittent acts of violence, livestock rustlings, but our armed forces are ever ready to crush any outrages. I have noted with admiration the giant strides and achievements recorded by the Army in terms of operational successes, manpower development, training, and capacity building, indigenous production of equipment, and infrastructural development, among others. I am particularly pleased to observe that the Nigerian Army has prioritized investment in building human resource institutions and capacity, being its core strategic asset to win wars. The establishment of the highly subscribed Army War College Nigeria, the Nigerian Army Resource Center, the Nigerian Army University, and the Nigerian Army Women Corps are few examples of new institutions that would not have come at a better time in our history. The Army, with this accomplishment, indeed deserves our support and commendation. This book, I quote, Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Brutal Years, 2015 to 2020, unquote, provides detailed insight to the many transformational initiatives embarked upon by the Army in the last 5 years. I note that the book chronicles a number of doctrinal and operational reviews that put a premium on protecting civilians in conflict areas, in realization of the overarching lessons that wars cannot be won by military efforts alone. The Nigerian Army has also engaged in building enduring partnerships with civil society, non-governmental organizations, and our international partners. I am impressed to observe that this book is a paradigm shift from the normal Army chronicle of command and events, but a compelling and scholarly documentation of the philosophical reasoning underpinning the initiatives. The book captures the defining moments in the transformational journey of the Nigerian Army, provides something of value to all categories of readers, and should serve as a model for other agencies of government. It is not only a careful compendium of Nigerian Army transformation efforts, but also an essential read for students of defense management and security studies, as well as the global audience who seek to understand how we still win our wars in spite of obvious operational and strategic challenges. As we continue our journey into the 21st century, let us remind ourselves that contemporary threats are complex, fluid, multidimensional, and global in nature. Here at home, the socio-economic and cultural realities have often been at the root of our conflicts, coupled with cross-border and transnational crimes. These dynamic complexities of our particular environment and the need to carefully guard our core interests underscore the need for our national security institutions to remain vigilant and ready to rise to the occasion whenever and wherever called upon to do so. I have no doubt in my mind that the Nigerian Army will continue to fulfill its role whenever the occasion rises. Lastly, I salute the courage and gallantry of members of our armed forces, particularly those who have paid the supreme sacrifice in defense of our nation. As a nation, we are indeed grateful for your sacrifices. I commend the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Yusuf Bratai, who has led the Army with excellence in very challenging times. I highly commend this compendium to the reading public. Signed, Muhammadu Buhari, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
This is the time you will make the announcement.
Yeah, no. May I, at this juncture, humbly invite the Chief of Army Staff to invite the special guest of honor for the unveiling of the book.
Thank you, sir. May I also humbly request, the Chief of Policy and Plans to please invite representatives of various service chiefs, Chairman Central Organizing Committee, and Mr. Inyama Katsina to please accompany the special guest of honor for this historic function. Thank you.
You are on to the live telecast of the Nigerian Army Day celebration taking place in Paskari, NatCel 2020. The Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, is unveiling the Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the Buratai years 2015 to 2020. The compendium contains information, success stories, challenges, and indeed commitment of the Chief of Army Staff since assumption to office.
And presented the compendium. Shortly, we will
Get to the climax of this auspicious event, which is the remarks of the special guest of honor. May I, at this juncture, most respectfully request the Chief Host, the Chief of Army Staff, to respectfully request the special guest of honor to please deliver his address at this auspicious occasion. The special guest of honor's address, please.
The Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief Host, Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, ably represented by Staff Officer, the Chief of Air Staff, equally represented, the Chief of Policy and Plans, Principal Staff Officers from the Army Headquarters and Service Headquarters, General Officers commanding Nigerian Army divisions here present, Air Officers commanding Special Operations and Training Command, Co-Commanders here present, Commanders of various operations here present, Commander of various army formations here present, Directors from Defense and Service Headquarters here present, Commandants of Nigerian Army Schools, senior military officers, both serving and retired, our Royal Father, Sarkin Yamman Katsina, Hakimin Paskari, the Garden Soldiers of Nigerian Army, gentlemen of press who have been standing in the sun for almost 2 hours, congratulations for giving you that honor. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am highly delighted to be in your midst today on these unique occasions as part of the extended Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020, an annual event that affords the Nigerian Army an opportunity to showcase its rich histories, values, and achievements. The event is also used to demonstrate the Nigerian Army's commitment to being a professional, responsive force in the discharge of its constitutional duties. I understand this theme, Nigerian territorial defense and sovereignty, imperatives for Nigerian Army's sustained operations and training. It is also born out of the burning desire of the Nigerian Army to fulfill its primary responsibility of securing the territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in all circumstances. I have no doubt in my mind it captures the yearnings of Nigerians for absolute peace and security. Here, it is gladdening to note that this year's Nigerian Army Day celebration is being organized in the form of a real-time field training exercise aimed at ridding the northwestern part of Nigeria of banditry activities. This year's celebration, taking place in Paskari, Katsina State, will no doubt provide the Nigerian Army and indeed the armed forces of Nigeria a platform to invigorate the fighting against insurgency, banditry activities, and sundry criminal activities in the various parts of this country. Equally, it is gratifying to note that this year's celebrations once again provide the Nigerian Army with another opportunity to celebrate and honor the deserving personnel who excel in the fighting against insurgencies and other criminal elements. Let me use this opportunity to reiterate the Mr. President Commander-in-Chief's absolute determination to achieve success in our fight against insurgents and other forms of criminality in the country. On this note, I wish to congratulate the Nigerian Army on its 157th anniversary. The Nigerian Army has come a long way, and no doubt it has weathered through the storms to become what it is today. You have continued to put in your best on behalf of our dear country. Indeed, several of your colleagues have paid the supreme price in order to keep this country safe and secure. We acknowledge and appreciate these sacrifices and pray for the repose of the souls of the deceased. Our hearts are with their families and their loved ones. Let me quickly add here that it is my responsibility as the Minister of Defense to ensure that they did not die in vain. We therefore owe it a duty to continue to make available to you all the necessary moral and material support that you may require to function optimally. I wish to assure you on behalf of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammad Buhari, that all our obligations shall be faithfully discharged to you. We will continue to demonstrate the political will and determination towards ensuring that insurgency and criminality are totally eradicated in our dear country. On this unique day of the Nigerian Army Day celebration, let me use this opportunity to join millions of Nigerians to thank members of the armed forces and other law enforcement agencies, all working diligently to protect us at a great cost to personal comfort and survival. I wish to especially commend and congratulate the Chief of Army Staff for his dedication, patriotism, loyalty, and doggedness in leading the Nigerian Army in the fight against terrorism and security challenges. To the recipients, let me make it clear that you are our heroes. All we are very proud of you. I congratulate you all on the honor bestowed upon you today in recognition of your selfless and exceptional contribution to the success recorded in the Nigerian Army in the last 12 months. Our nation remains indebted to you for your services, so therefore, congratulations. To our gallant serving men and women of the Army, I implore you to all continue to discharge your duties according to the existing rules of engagement and in line with the constitutional provisions. Today, I had the honor to unveil the book Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, the brutal years 2015 to 2020, which highlights some of the achievements recorded by the Nigerian Army in the last 5 years. I have noticed the giant transformational stride made by the Nigerian Army in areas including organization, training, operations, administration, logistics, and infrastructural development, as carefully detailed in the book. I am impressed by the many new establishments that have been created to enhance the force structure and posture of the Army, as well as afford to build the capacity of personnel in all cadres. I again congratulate the Chief of Army Staff, officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army for these milestones. I urge you not to rest on your oars, but continue to work assiduously towards containing the lingering threats to our national security until peace and security is restored to all troubled spots in this country. At this point, it is my honor and privilege to present the book Compendium of Nigerian Army, the brutal years 2015 to 2020, to you and to the larger public. I hereby direct all Ministry of Defense institutions and establishments to purchase the book for the benefits of their personnel. Once again, I congratulate you all on witnessing yet another Nigerian Army Day celebration. God bless you all, and thank you.
Can we please give the special guest of honor another round of applause? The special guest of honor, sir, with your remarks, we are gradually coming to the end of this auspicious occasion. But just before we do, an event of this magnitude would not end without the presentation of souvenirs to our esteemed guests. May I at this juncture respectfully request the chairman.
That was Minister of Defense, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired on this occasion of Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020. The main thrust of the minister's address is a renewed commitment of the federal government to fight in all form of criminality in the country. And indeed, the minister expressed appreciation with the untiring commitment of the Nigerian army and indeed other security personnel in working in synergy to restore peace and order in some parts of the country. Next is a presentation of souvenirs to deserving personalities.
The Honorable Minister of Defense, who is also our very special guest of honor, our chief host, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. The first announcement is the largesse from the Honorable Minister of Defense of a whooping sum of 500,000 naira to that combatant soldier who rescued all those children from the school bus that got burnt, and he suffered so much burn from the explosion. Thank you very much. The second announcement is on the proceeds that will be made from the sales of the compendium of Army Transformation, the Buratai years, as announced by the special guest of honor. The fund that will be raised from the sales is going to be used to set up an endowment fund for Tukur Buratai Foundation for military strategy and tactics. I don't feel I should allow that to announce this to the hearing of the public. Thank you very much, sir. Chairman, cost. Chairman, how much is the book going for? 10,000. The cost of...
You are still watching the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, live, coming to you from Paskari on the occasion of the Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020. Earlier on, we had an announcement that the Honorable Minister of Defense, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, retired, has personally donated a sum of 100,000 naira to Private Isa Umar, one of the recipients. 500,000 naira, to Private Isa Umar, one of the recipients of the Chief of Army Staff Awards this afternoon, for sacrificing his health and saving school children whose bus was on fire. Presentation of souvenirs is now taking place with the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, presenting to some deserving officers of the Nigerian Army and personalities here with us, of course.
Next is the representative of the Chief of Defense Staff. To the Chief of Defense Staff. The special guest of honor will receive one in his personal capacity. A round of applause for him, please. Congratulations, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Next to receive a souvenir is the Chief of Defense Staff, who is here ably represented by Air Vice Marshal C.I. Ubuwen. The representative of the Chief of Defense Staff would also receive another in his personal capacity. Next is the Chief of Naval Staff, here ably represented by Rear Admiral T.T. Dapat. Next also to receive is the Chief of Air Staff, who is here ably represented. Lastly, the Sultan Yaman Katsina, the Hakimin Faskari, Engineer Tukur Usman Saidu would also receive from the Chief of Army Staff. Thank you very much, sir. May I, at this juncture, most respectfully request the special guest of honor to please mount the saluting days, where he would receive the hearty cheers for this auspicious event. The special guest of honor, sir.
As we are gradually coming to the end of the
Army Day celebration. I have been directed to respectfully inform us that lunch is served in the mess.
With the three happy cheers to the Honorable Minister of Defense, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Major General Bashir Salihi, Magashi retired, we come to the end of the Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2020, which came to you live from the services of the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest television network. And indeed from Paskari, Katsina State, one of the frontline local governments affected by activities of banditry. And indeed, on behalf of the production crew, the entire crew, my co-commentator Abdul Malik Hassan, I am Shehu Adam Hussein. Stay tuned to NTA.